Blender has a ton of editor window types, and I'm constantly switching between them while animating. If you're like me, jumping from the timeline to the node editor to the graph editor, you need a fast way to move between them without tying your fingers in knots, you know? The function keys, F1 to F12, are perfect for this. But Blender's default setup has them mapped with Shift, which honestly feels like a hand-stretching challenge for me. So nope, I need to change that. How to customize function key shortcuts. To remap your hotkeys, go to Edit, Preferences, then open the Key Map tab. You can search either by name or key binding. I prefer name for this. Type in cycle space type set. This is Blender's name for switching editor types. You'll get a full list of editor windows and the keys assigned to them. Change them to whatever works best for you. These are the shortcuts I use for animation work. Feel free to use mine or customize your own setup. Just a quick note, when switching between editors, make sure your mouse is hovering over the window you want to change. Blender uses that to know which windows to affect, you know? Oh, also, one feature I really recommend learning is a toggle maximize area. It lets you focus on one editor and hides the rest. The default key here is a Control-Alt spacebar, but I remapped it to just use Control spacebar for easier access. It's super helpful when you want to zoom in and concentrate on one single view, you know? Okay, F1, the search menu. I change F1 to open the search menu. Key map, search for search menu and remap it to F1. Don't forget to uncheck the default settings tied to F1, which opens up the Blender manual. I never use it anyway, since I usually just Google what I need to find. The search menu is awesome, man. If you saw a tool in a tutorial but don't know where to find it, let's search it here. Blender will tell you the tool's name, where it lives in the menus, and even its hotkey. I use F2 to open the UV and image editor. It's something I check regularly to make sure everything's unwrapped correctly. Handy to have close by, you know? F3, shader node editor. Next to UVs, I've got the shader editor mapped to F3. Super useful for tweaking material nodes right after I check the UVs, you know? F4, timeline dope sheet. The timeline is essential for animation, so I keep it on F4. When I'm not animating, I swap this window to either the UV editor or the node materials editor. When I'm animating, I switch it back to the timeline to check the keys and timing for it. It's really, really necessary. F5, the 3D viewport. This is the main view, of course. I put it on F5 since it's easy to find it in the middle of the function keys row. It's a great default key to switch back to the viewport quickly. You can also split the 3D view in half, one side for your camera and the other side for the perspective. Or try view area, toggle quad view to get the classic 4-panel layout like in any other 3D software. F6, graph editor and drivers. As an animator, the graph editor is critical for finessing movement or fix stuff that cannot be usually done with keyframes. I usually switch between this and the timeline depending on the task. Timeline for the rough pass, graph editor for the polish pass. F7, video sequencer. I use this mainly to line up the audio for my animation. Blender's timeline doesn't show audio waveforms by default, but the sequencer does. So I split my window so I can have the timeline and the sequencer stacked together. It makes lip sync animation so much easier to do. F8, file browser and the asset browser. F8 opens the asset browser for me. I keep my pose library, lip sync keys, and even add-on assets in here. It's one of the most important tools in my setup, especially when animating with reusable elements, you know? Sometimes I swap this with the outliner if I need to check hierarchy now and then. F9, outliner. The outliner helps me manage all of my objects and collections. I keep it close to the properties window and switch between the two depending on what I'm doing. F10, properties. The properties panel is almost always open for me. I didn't change much here since Blender's default position works well, but I keep a hotkey assigned just in case I lose it or I need to switch it with something else. F11, render view. F11 opens the last render window. I keep this default. It's useful when you want to review a render without having to re-render the whole scene again, you know? F12, starting the render. This starts your render. F12 renders the still image. Control F12 renders the entire animation. Just make sure you have an active camera set, otherwise nothing shows up and you just get an error, basically. And that's my function key setup, man. Super clean, fast, and built around how I animate professionally in Blender. I'll share more custom setups in upcoming videos, and if you got a specific Blender problem or workflow question, just drop it in the comments, man. I'd love to help out. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.